is 50 pounds overweight and is more likely to die an early death? Every kid that drops out of college? That's a constraint on America's growth. It will compromise your future. If you don't care about them, it will compromise your future. And we're all in this together. Works better than you're on your own. Last thing I want to say is, the Republicans had this debt clock. You remember that at the convention? Yeah. That's a big problem. But not today. Not this day. Why? For a very simple reason. Because on this day, there's not enough private economic activity to grow the economy fast enough to allow us to effectively bring down the debt. So if you cut public spending and there's not private investment to make up for it, you just fall further behind. That's why when the Republican Congress got rid of the aid to state and local government, unemployment went up 700,000. That's why when the British tried it, they went back into recession. That's why the European Union has an unemployment rate 3% higher than ours, because President Obama and the Congress did the right thing on that Recovery Act. They put a floor under the unemployment rate. Young people, the debt will be important for this reason. Because when the economy starts to grow again, interest rates will rise. And if interest rates today were what they were when I was president, the amount of money we'd have to spend, your tax money, paying interest on the debt would be almost 3 times what it is today. And that would cut money for education, for science and technology, for our future. So we need a 10-year plan to deal with it. President Obama has offered a plan to reduce the debt by $4 trillion. With spending restraints and adequate revenues premised on a reasonable amount of growth. If you don't have growth, revenues, and spending cuts, you can't balance the budget. What's their plan? They said, well, the first thing we got to do, since we got this horrible debt problem, is spend $2 trillion over a decade more on defense than the Pentagon has asked for. And you say, wait, I'm big on a strong military. It's important. But I trust the Pentagon to design a 21st century military to meet 21st century security threats. So they say, well, we're just going to throw in the $2 trillion out there and say, what are you going to spend it on? See me about it later. Then the second thing, and the most important thing, they say, we got this big debt, so we're going to cut taxes $5 trillion more over the next decade. And we're going to pay for that by repealing exemptions. Well, which ones and how much are you going to save? See me about it after the election. So just think about this. If you had an arithmetic problem to solve and you wanted to get from negative to 0, would your first move be to add -7? I mean, I'm not making this up. This is their strategy. Why? Because I'm saying this because on this day of all days, we should know that there are good and noble people who work for the government. I remember when the Oklahoma City bombing occurred, which before 9/11 was the biggest terrorist incident in the United States history. And a man who had been on my Secret Service detail had transferred there because he thought it'd be a great place to raise his children. And he was killed that day, along with other people. And I had, like every politician, on occasion gotten upset by some example of government waste or something the way we all do, and referred derisively to government bureaucrats. And I promised myself that I would never use those two words together for the rest of my life. I would treat those people that serve our country with respect, whether they're in uniform, law enforcement, firefighters, nurses, any other thing. So that's it. If you're looking for the future, I think the president's budget plan is better, meets the arithmetic test. I think the health care plan is better. I know the higher education plan is better. And I know the economic plan is better. And I know it will not amount to a hill of beans if you don't register and vote and get your friends to. So do it.